Alright, how's it going, everybody? My name is Philip, and today we're going to be reacting to Middle Ground. It's a conversation, I guess, between mass shooting survivors and NRA members. I thought that this might be somewhat kind of interesting. I guess this happened about 2 years ago or so, and I'm quite interested to see what's being said, what some of the school shooting survivors have, what their thoughts are on guns. I have an idea on, like, if I was in a shooting, I'd be like, yo, just get rid of the fucking guns. I still think that way, but you know, apparently that's a controversial topic. Apparently you can't say that, right? Like, here in the U.S., if you say that, then you hate America. Apparently, I think. I don't know. I don't talk to many people about this just because I don't know. It's especially okay. So the thing is, I keep to myself even more so now recently because someone in San Jose, which, you know, obviously you could see in the background, the San Jose earthquake old logo. I live somewhat close to San Jose, probably like an hour drive depending on traffic. So someone in basically the same position that I work. So we're in a grocery store. We are technically not allowed to stop people from stealing anything, which is fucking ridiculous. So then they complain about us, our sales to purchases is terrible, but, you know, they don't want to do anything about people stealing shit. But anyways, so there is this 24-year-old who, I guess he said something to somebody who was stealing. And apparently the guy didn't like what he said. And he shot the guy. He shot the employee and killed him. So if that starts happening more often, you know, like grocery stores, all of a sudden, it's not just schools. Like, it's annoying and frustrating, and it pisses me off. And I don't know. I'm interested to see what the NRA members say and what their reasons are. And I'm also interested to see what the survivors are going to be saying as well. I have a hard time with, you know, let's tackle the gun issue first and then we could start on the mental health. You know, like, that's just how I think of it. Once we get the mental health part in check, maybe once we have things in check to help people with mental health, then maybe we can do something a little bit more lenient on guns. Because although I would rather them just get rid of them altogether, I know there's going to be these people that just like, no, we need them. I need to protect my swimming pool from leeches. I don't know. Let's check it out. Okay, so I do have my fan on. Hopefully you can't really hear it, but it's really hot in my room. So I figured hopefully it shouldn't be too bad, but that's...
It was about 11 o'clock. I was getting ready to leave the bar.
It was just a normal day. I walked in with my friends, and I was in my first period class.
I was on the dance floor. He walked in with a gun in hand and started open fire on the bar.
Just kind of happened in the middle of nowhere. Of course, you're just having fun at a concert, and then next thing you know, it's massacre going on all around.
Bang, 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 bang. And I just remember like yelling at my teacher, like, we need to lock the doors right now, we're in a school shooting.
I ended up running over to the opposite side of the bar. I didn't know where any of my friends were. It was chaos.
Somebody has a gun and they have a motive, and there's just not a whole lot you can do besides try to, you know, get away.
And hide or something.
You're NRA. What comes to mind?
But I don't really think much about it. I mean, it's just another big corporation doing their thing.
I believe in the right to protect yourself, to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. I believe guns are the great equalizer, and unfortunately, sometimes they have to be used.
Anytime there is a mass shooting, it's always, oh, this is the NRA's fault. In fact, the only time the NRA members have been involved in mass shootings is when we're stopping them.
The United States.
Wait, when's the NRA ever stopped a mass shooting? I'm not trying to be like, you know, I actually don't know. I personally have never heard NRA stopping a mass shooting. I did hear recently that someone told on a group of I don't know if it was Proud Boys or someone that was gonna go shoot up a LGBTQ plus, the Pride parade or something, and they told on them and they got arrested. But I don't know if that was an NRA member or not. But I don't necessarily know if I've ever heard of the NRA stopping mass shootings. So.
Does not have a mass shooting problem. The United States has a mental health,
It's both.
ignorance around the Second Amendment, and irresponsibility problem.
You can't look at it in a vacuum. You have to look at the entire history. And in this country, every stage where liberty was achieved for a group, typically it was a war that was involved.
I don't personally know anybody who's a member of the NRA. I'm not sure what they have to say.
Okay, so another thing is he said ignorance around the Second Amendment. Which is true. I don't think a lot of people realize that it says a well-formed militia. I mean, like the last should we call that a well-formed militia? Everything that happened on January 6th. Would that be considered a well-formed militia? Because they did seem pretty well-formed and they did have an idea on how to get through. And they had congressmen or people on the inside to open doors for them, from what I've seen. So, would that be considered a well-formed militia? Also, how many people would count in a militia? Maybe there's an actual... Let me actually look this up. Okay, so it wasn't really giving me any actual, round number. So, can 2 people form a militia? Or just one person by themselves? Because if that's the case, then that's some bullshit. But I don't know. Let's get on with the video because I feel like I'm gonna have a lot to say. But let's just see what they gotta say because it's
Welcome to the
quite
party,
important.
everybody.
I'm Antoinette. I'm 39 years old. I'm a mom, and I help run my family small business.
Hi, I'm Hayden. I'm 17, and I'm currently a senior in high school.
My name's Heather. I'm a NRA certified handgun instructor, and I'm just here to have a civil conversation about guns.
My name's John. I work in the software industry, and I'm a mass shooting survivor.
I'm Dylan, 23 years old, 2-time mass shooting survivor.
2-time.
I'm 20 years old. I was at the borderline Barnville shooting, and I work with old people.
I'm Maj. I'm the founder of Black Guns Matter. Reformed scumbag, just trying to do the right thing to defend the natural rights to protect life.
I'm Jai. I'm 37 years old. I'm an abolitionist. I make my money as a criminal defense attorney.
I have lost someone to gun violence.
Yeah, so 4 months ago was my school shooting. November 14th today is actually the 4-month anniversary.
Jeez.
I didn't know the 2 people who the shooter shot, but I did know the shooter. So I did, in a sense, have a connection to someone who died because he did commit suicide after killing 2 and I believe he's injuring 3. So it's just crazy to have to go through that.
I had a cousin who died ultimately of a shotgun. It was an accident. His girlfriend accidentally shot him in the face with a shotgun. Yeah, and he lived for 3 or 4 months after that in complete agony and pain. I was, a little kid, so I mean that was really kind of the first I had heard about something like that, right? And then, of course, with the mass shooting, I didn't know the people personally, but I've heard a number of stories. They all sound like great people.
My most recent was last week. A classmate of mine, he got killed by the LA sheriffs. And then at his memorial service, I ran into my other buddy, Martin, who just got killed. He was in the barbershop. Somebody ran in, shot him last week. And I've had those experiences just constantly pretty much since the high school age.
During the shooting I was at, one of my best friends, he was like my brother, his name was Cody Kaufman. I pulled him out on the dance floor and we were dancing. We were having so much fun because he had just got new jeans that were like 2 sizes too tight. And I had just gotten new boots. And next thing you know, you do one more line dance and it's all over.
I was at the Vegas shooting at the concert and then Borderline as well. I had lost 1 person in Vegas that I had tried to help, and then at Borderline I had lost 8 people that I knew.
Jeez.
Oh, sorry, not trying to cry, but yeah.
most of the people, not even just the people here, I think most of the people that's going to be watching, you may know someone that has experienced that. And I think that the key to solving that is finding out where that comes from. If that person took life and then wound up taking their own life, there's pain there. I think in my neighborhood, we just get so numb to it.
I think it's kind of crazy how you can just say his girlfriend accidentally shot him. So that right there, it's clearly not a mental health issue. Like that part right there, that's clearly not a mental health issue. That's clearly a gun issue. You know? Granted, you could also have said that, well, if they didn't load it, if they kept it in a safer spot, then that wouldn't have happened as well, you know? But same with, what was his name? Bruce Lee's son. That wasn't a mental health issue. That was also a poorly taken care of firearm where he got shot because a bullet was somehow lodged in the barrel of the gun, or however you want to call it, you know, the barrel basically. But like, that's also not a. And even more recently, with the whole Alec Baldwin situation, that's not a mental health issue. That was also a gun issue. I mean, I don't know how else to say this, but we need to tackle the gun issue first. Granted, those are in professional settings that should have been checked, regardless of you know what. It should have been checked and should have been avoided regardless. But accidents do happen. If a child finds a gun, they don't know better, and they think it's kind of like a water gun. Ha 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 ha, bam, dead child. I mean, that's not a gun issue, that's a mental health issue. It's also a parent issue. If you're leaving your guns out where your kids are able to grab them, but yeah.
I just want to say I'm so sorry for everyone here. I can't imagine going through it. And I have a question for you. So you're in high school.
Yeah.
Do you feel safer or less safe being that your whole school is a gun-free zone?
I guess I feel safer, but I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's a gun or if it's a knife or it's a bomb or if it's a car running into people. I think he was going to do it no matter what.
Do you wish that there was more that you'd be able to have done? It must feel helpless.
It was like I went fight or flight, so my thing was like, I want to fight. I tried to do everything that I possibly could with the situation that I was in to be able to help. It may not have been the people in the quad, but it was the people in my class. So my first thing was, how do I make them feel safe? So it was like unplugging a computer cart, putting it up against the door, stacking desks in front of the door, making sure that people couldn't get in. And I was watching like the news on my phone, and you know, I'm not going to tell them that like these people are dead or these people are injured, because that's just going to make it worse. I think that mass shootings are a problem, but I think that a lot of the time we're focusing on the wrong thing when it comes to mass shootings. It is a double-edged sword. We should focus on some sort of gun regulation, but at the same time, the other side of the sword is it's a lot of mental health. I think mental health is our problem in the United States because we don't focus on it enough.
I can agree with that. Like, I'm fine with people having handguns when it's very, very heavily regulated. And there's like a lot of things that have to go into it to make sure that you are being careful, making sure that you are capable of keeping it out of harm's way. But mental health is also a big issue. I'm not going to say that it's not, because like I've suffered with it. My brother, I believe, has suffered with it for a bit. I think a friend of mine has suffered with it for a bit as well. And it's massive. I mean, the thing is, though, like, we also, I think with him and I, we never really wanted to go shoot people. That was our thing. You know, we like, our release was sports. And so if we wanted to go out and be, not violent, but, but like, we'd have our release at playing soccer or football. That's what we would do. And I feel like part of it is people need to go find a release. That's not sex. that's something that you can do with people so you can be around people. Whether it's, like I said, sports, whether it's like a club or something, whether it's a video game club, an anime club. I'm just trying to think of like nerdy people that can also do this that aren't necessarily athletic. But
it seems like the other side tries to push like as if you don't care. And I think we care very, very much. People think that, you know, people who own guns just want to shoot things. I mean, personally, I'd be terrified if I ever had to use it in self-defense, and that's why the responsibility that comes with training is incredibly important.
Think about whether we need more or less guns in this country. I think about freedom. If you my brother and you my sister and you don't want a gun, I respect your right to not have one.
That's
if you
fair.
my brother or my sister and you want more guns, I respect your right to have one. Where you lose me is if you use any of those firearms negligently or to rob or rape or kill unjustifiably.
that's fair.
Then I don't really give a shit what happens to you.
That's a very fair take. One thing I will say on that is I think when a lot of people tend to talk about gun reform, it's not so much the hand guns. It's more so the assault weapons. And it's especially more prevalent after the Uvalde shooting. It's real important to literally get rid of assault weapons. Automatic. It's just the handguns. I don't think people have that much issues with. It's the assault weapons, the ARs. Things where you can unload an entire clip and literally be a fucking sprinkler. That's what people have the biggest issue with in what I think is a big issue. Or is the big problem.
America has a mass shooting problem.
A mass shooting is different than, let's say, a murder. When you think about a mass shooting, the perpetrator, they're usually suicidal, right? And they have no agenda other than to take lives. And that's quite different than a typical crime that would involve a firearm. It's a phenomenon.
I think that's where I'm somewhat pushing that back. I think in order for us to solve it, we have to start looking at it. This is massive amounts of people that are still shooting humans, even if it's themselves.
Right.
If we're talking about stats, mass shootings, they would say, are not a problem, based on the data of what that definition of mass shooting is, because that's less than 1% of all death in the country in regards to firearms. So if I went just with that, I would not agree that there's a mass shooting problem. But how can I sit next to this young man here who lost 8 out of 12 people that he knew in one juncture and say that's not a problem?
One, we have a mass shooting problem, but we also have a mental health problem.
Right.
My age range from, I believe it's 15 to 25, we have the highest depression rate in the entire history of the human race.
It's crazy.
That data can prove. It was the kid's birthday, the day that he shut up the school. If one person said happy birthday, got him a card, talked to him and say like, hey, I know it's your birthday next week, want to do something this weekend. It's all about how are we making these authentic human connections with people. If we just talk to people, I think that's
high school's also really fucked up. School in general.
I think I gotta wait today.
That's another thing is school in general tends to do that because, you know, you get your cliques. I went to a private school, which means I went to a private school that was a very small school, so there wasn't really that many cliques. We all kind of stayed within our own grade, but we you know, we would talk to everyone. You know, we were all pretty close. And so from what I've seen with my brother, like you have all these cliques and you have all these group of friends, and then some might pick on the others or whatever. But yeah, it's just,
I believe we have a mental health problem. I believe we have a drug problem. I believe we have a racial problem. And the reason why I don't think mass shooting is a problem is because if we took all the guns, it wouldn't stop the violence. Like you pointed out, they could have used a car, they could have used a knife, they could have used a bomb. That would not absolve these deaths, us from experiencing these things because they find another way. And by calling it mass shooting and saying we need this gun control now, that's, from my perspective, just more of an opportunity to make another law that the police can lock up people in my specific demographic for.
I think it's also important to know that I think it's something like 8.9 out of 10 mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. So in my mind, if someone's going to commit mass shootings and there's a sign that says, there's no guns here, there will be no bullets flying back at you, versus there are trained people ready to do whatever they have to do to protect life here. Which place are they gonna go? Like, I couldn't believe in Nice, France, on Bastille Day, there was like 86 people mowed down by a guy with a truck. But you don't hear anything about, we need truck reform or like truck violence. It's always
does that happen?
gun violence, and you don't ever hear that term specifically with other weapons, I guess you could say.
I guess one thing that I think viewers should take away from my experience is people go through crisis, but you should never give up on what you believe in, and you should always push through it.
Do you think that the United States has a mass shooting problem?
Yes, I do believe that there is definitely an issue that needs to be addressed and resolved.
Any mass casualty is terrible. I think if you look in inner cities like Chicago and Baltimore, the media is nowhere around, and there's a mass shooting almost every weekend. So I think it's interesting to look at exactly why they pick the mass shootings that they pick to just delve into in the media.
It should be harder to purchase a gun.
So if you agree.
Like, speak your truth, brother.
There's something called the gun show loophole. Think about it like the black market, right? Unless you have a storefront and you're telling, the government, hey, I want to sell guns and make a profit, you need to be certified in that sense if you're going to be doing that. Otherwise, it's completely legal to, give a gun to a friend or what have you. So I think that it creates an entire underbelly of the market that really shouldn't exist. I mean, if we're not keeping track of who has a gun and where they're buying it, who's selling it, I think guns get in the wrong people's hands.
I'm
I
surprised
believe
not
when
more
the
people
reports of the
showed up.
investigation came out of my
this
school
one.
shooting, it was a kit gun. So he had actually put it together himself. He also grew up in a family that that supported guns. His dad, I think, was a bullet maker. I think people are gonna get guns no matter what. Like, if they want a gun, they're gonna get a gun.
So it definitely is different from state to state.
Sure.
In California, it's very difficult. In Illinois, it's difficult. And the crazy thing is, you see a lot of gun violence in those states, but New Hampshire, it's a constitutional carry state, meaning that you don't even have to have a permit, you can conceal carry, and they have virtually no homicides with guns. So I'm just curious, what you're asking for basically is like a national registry for firearms, right?
If we could do that, why not?
Okay, so I feel like if you look back in history, it's never worked out for citizens. If you look back at Germany, if you look at Venezuela right now.
Fair points. And I read somewhere that, if you have a controlled substance possession charge, if in the last year you can't get a gun. If you have had a misdemeanor sentenced to over 2 years in prison, you can't have a gun. And these are great safeguards. They need to just be imposed more.
I think it should be easier. It's the only constitutional right that you lose with a conviction. Like, you come out of prison, you still have freedom of speech, but now you can no longer protect yourself. Now, I understand people can do stuff to relieve themselves even of the right to life. I believe that. You can give up your right to life based on your actions, but I think we make it too easy to give up those rights. And then when you add in the racial component to these laws, that makes me even more of an advocate against these kind of gun restrictions.
I'm sorry. So the high schooler, he made a very fair point. If you want a gun, you're gonna get a gun. I can see that. There's, the U.S. is a big place and the border's big. Smuggling's huge. I understand if you want a gun, you're gonna get a gun. It's going to happen. I know that, but the fact that you're able to walk in to a store and 5 to 10 minutes later, maybe not even that long, maybe even shorter, you can walk out with a gun and ammunition. The fact that they didn't bring that up is mind-boggling. and I'm probably not going to watch this entire video. I might have to cut it up because it's already getting quite long. And I just,
My opinion of firearms is that's the only thing that really led to abolition was when black people picked up guns. It's really hard to enslave people who have firearms. And so based on the history of this land, my people in this land, I think every one of us should have a firearm, be trained and become proficient and learn how to use it.
Teachers should be armed.
no. Fuck no.
I mean, I believe teachers that want to be armed should be armed. I don't think anybody should have to, worry about the responsibilities that are associated with gun ownership if they don't want to. I don't think it's right for everybody, but obviously the more good people with guns, especially in a school, I think that would be great.
Look at what we do protect with firearms, our politicians, our celebrities, and for our kids, we protect them with gun-free zones, and they're just left sitting ducks, right? So I think if you have concealed carry permit holders, if you have maybe veterans or ex-law enforcement that are teachers, would you not want them to be able to protect your kid? If otherwise your option is you're not protected, you have to wait 10, 20 minutes for the police to come with their firearms to come rescue your kids. So
I think that if you want to and you are willing to go through similar training, almost like a concealed carry, so you know what you're doing and it's not just handing a gun to some random teacher saying, here, protect your kids. Yeah. It's more of so like you have the training for it, you have the background check, like they said, like you almost are prepared in a way to do what is right.
My thing on this, sorry for stopping it so much. My thing on this is, how many teachers are old? There will be times when a teacher is so busy that whether, because obviously you're going to have the gun in a very safe spot, locked away, so that a kid cannot just go in and grab it. Whether it's locked, whether the code is put somewhere, or who knows, whatever the reason is. So let's say somehow that kid is able to open the safe and they got the gun now. Like I don't know if I'm just being just freaked out about the idea that a kid could find the code, open the safe, take the gun out and go out and start shooting people, if the code's going to be different for every single teacher or every single room, or what. It's just, I don't like the idea of the fact that, if you're going to say teachers should be armed, no. Just if you're going to want to arm someone, put some security guards in there. It's literally just that. Have the janitors be trained or some shit. I don't know. Just the teachers, definitely not. They go there to teach. My mom has even said it, like, she would not be able to take a student's life even if they're shooting at her. And yes, that is my mom, and it's different. And I'm sure other people are different, but again, that's just.
I don't think that a teacher can take the life of one of their students.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Like if you think, Mrs. Stewart, my 10th grade English teacher, is going to be able to shoot one of her 16-year-old kids that has a gun, I don't see that.
And to that point, the inner city and urban areas and things like that, the teacher-student relationship is not great. I've seen, videos on YouTube, teachers getting beat up and stuff. Yeah. Right? So do we want them to have firearms?
We all have jobs, right? And we all have our roles within our jobs that we have to do, that we know, like, this is what we're doing for today, every day. Something may change where we have to adjust to it and all that stuff. The teachers have their job where it's to teach these kids through their process of growing up. But now I have these 6th grade kids where there's 25 of them. I have to put myself at the point of this moment. If the shooter comes to us, it's between them, me, and the kids. Now, if something were to happen to me, these kids have nothing. I think with the precautions that we take already with the schools into learning how to close your blinds, lock your doors, do all that stuff, get to the back corners, be quiet, that is a good precaution, because these kids, when they're going to school, they're going to learn, have fun, be with their friends. This teacher now has a weapon on them. Who's also to say that the teacher can't take action? I know for the rest of my life when I have kids, I'm gonna be worried that they might experience the same things that I have.
Move to
But I have to
Australia.
accept that if I do, I don't have control of everything.
I believe there's a way to prevent mass shootings.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of all of
I think that no mentally or physically sane person would commit a hate crime so big if there wasn't some underlying issue. If we find a way to talk about that and help that there's really going to be no problem at all.
A lot of the stigma around surrounding mass shootings is guns, but it's really the person. And I think if we're all more kind, we end up feeling better, right? If we're more
That's way too
loving, we
difficult, though.
create more understanding around everybody, regardless of race, religion, gender identity, any of that stuff. If we're more empathetic, we cultivate more understanding around who you are, and then there's less hatred because I understand where you're coming from. And if we're more vulnerable, then we're able to talk about things like mental health. We're able to talk about like, hey, I feel depressed. Hey, I'm anxious. Hey, you know, I've been thinking about it. I want to shoot up a school. And you're the only person I feel safe talking to.
I don't know
if
if
we
anyone-
prioritize those, we as humans become better, and then we can
think anyone
contribute
really
to our global community.
I mean, I love all that. I mean, being a mom, especially, I want my daughter to grow up in that kind of world, you know. And I think that those things are totally possible.
No.
I just think that also in the meantime, we have to address the issue that there is evil in this world.
Yep.
We don't want it to exist. I don't think you can legislate it out. A good guy with a gun is going to stop a bad guy, hopefully, with a gun. That's the best chance, you know.
Trust me, I really want to believe that, and I do, that there is greatness in this world, there's kind people, that we can do a lot of great things. I've just seen too much now where it only really comes down to one individual has the mindset that this is what I choose to do today, and they take those actions. That's how the cards are played. I want there to be something that can be done to stop and prevent all these things to happen so that these three and you guys don't have to experience it one more time, or you guys ever in your life, to understand the shoes that we're in.
You know, there's almost no rhyme or reason sometimes why these things happen, and I think that's why it's a problem. I'd love to wave a magic wand and make it so that never happens again. It's not possible. There's no motive that makes sense to go to a bar and do what the guy did that night, right?
America has a sickness. America's main sickness is white supremacy. It's an issue that we have not addressed. It's an issue that's written into the foundation of this nation when the founding fathers wrote, all men are created equal while holding slaves. And I think most of these issues are rooted in that. And if we just keep, putting a Band-Aid on it and don't get out and get that cancer, we can't reach those levels. But I think that's what it would take, because that's what can start the healing process.
Okay, so what I'll say on that, for the people out there that want to draw from, but white supremacists aren't the ones, I've seen a lot more black people give hate towards Asians than white people. Obviously, I'm doing my best not to fully look into any of this, but occasionally when the news is on, I've always seen a black person steal or knock over or do this to Asian people. And then you're like, but blacks are doing this, blacks are doing that, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like if we all chose to try and care for each other, if we all made that conscious choice to try and be better and try and understand and try and just be humans towards one another and be kind and try, like I said, be understanding towards each other, then maybe, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, that's the video. It's like I want to say that we can all just be kind and love one another. And then maybe that's not gonna, and then maybe that will stop someone from doing something that's gonna stop. See, again, I'm starting to lose my mind. I feel like I'm actually starting to lose my mind because I just don't know where my mind's going right now. Like, it's like I'm talking about racism, and then I'm saying if we could all be nice to each other, and then it's just racism is fucked up. Not gonna lie. Throwing that out there. anyone that's racist can go die in a ditch somewhere being fucked by a dog. Not even joking. Like, I hope so. For all the racists out there. Seriously. And also, I think it also comes down to religion. The reason why I have a hard time saying that I'm a Christian, because I do not fully believe in a lot of what's been said. A lot of that shit that people throw out there. God hates gays. God hates this. It's Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. All that shit, I'm just like, can we not? Can we not? Like, I have very little faith in humanity at this point. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go check out Jubilee. From what I understand, they probably have a lot more of other ones of these middle grounds and stuff. There's another one that I see right here, Switzerland. So many guns, no mass shootings. The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. That just got added to my watch list. So let me know what you guys' opinions are on this. It's just ever since the pandemic, quote unquote, ended. We're in the later half of it, the back end of it. Crime here in the U.S. has just skyrocketed. It's like people are trying to make up for the last 2 years, year and a half. It's ridiculous. Thanks for watching. It's kind of a long video. I'll try and edit it down, but subscribe for more content just like this, and I will see you guys around.